Qantas has announced it is hiking the cost of international flights, with the price of jet fuel soaring over the past 2 weeks. For more on what that'll mean for customers, I'm joined by the Chief Executive of the Australian Travel Industry Association, Dean Long. Dean, welcome to News Breakfast.
Good to be with you.
What sort of things are we already seeing from airlines when it comes to the prices of flights?
Look, we're seeing some increases today across the board, particularly for the next couple of weeks. That increase in demand through Asia is definitely seeing some airfares spike. You can't take about half of our supply out of the market from Europe without seeing some corresponding increases. We're also seeing some increases in flights through to North America because people are choosing to go that way to get to Europe. So unfortunately, there's only one carrier that we're aware of that has a discount in the market at the moment. Everybody else is increasing those airfares.
So that's perhaps not a surprise because of the disruption of flights through the Middle East. I'm just curious, what sort of effect do you expect the price of oil to have in the near future on customers who are trying to book flights?
Yeah, the good news is a lot of the airlines have that 3 to 6 month strategy of hedging. So that means about 80% of their fuel costs are hedged. And that means they'll be operating off the old cost of oil. There's a little bit of discrepancy around how much money is going to be spent on the refining element. So for example, Delta in America actually own their own refinery to keep some of those costs lower. The two local carriers here don't have that. But going forward outside of that 6 months is where we're going to see those price increases, I think, really take off if we don't see a cease in the conflict in the Middle East.
I just wonder what your view is on how customers react to this. Obviously, everyone's waking up to the news. There's enormous uncertainty. Usually people plan holidays some distance out. What sort of effect do you expect it to have on bookings and travel plans of Australians?
Look, we haven't seen a huge number of cancellations. If anything, reports from our members last week really saw a flat week, which was quite interesting given the conflict, the rerouting and the potential for cancellations. We're seeing some strong forward sales outside of Europe, and a lot of people holding true to those Middle Eastern carriers because those refund rights aren't in place at the moment. So look, we don't expect to see a huge change in demand. For the inbound industry, though, we do expect there to be some issues with the increase in fuel. That will have a bit of a depressionary impact for the local tourism industry for those inbound internationals.
This is probably a really tricky question to answer, but how long do you expect this disruption in the industry to go on for? And what sort of price changes would you expect if this war is to drag out for, say, a few more weeks, maybe a month?
Look, unfortunately, I think we've seen the carriers really increase those prices anywhere between 20 to 80% on some of those routes. We've seen a base increase by about 5% by the national carrier today. Look, it's really going to depend on how long the conflict goes for and how quickly those oil refineries can be turned back on and get those fuel moving through. So the good news is, according to the government, there is plenty of aviation fuel in the market today. That will hold the prices of domestic travel down to some extent, but international, unfortunately, we are going to see some increases, both because we've taken a significant level of supply out, but two, those increased in oil costs will start to flow through in about 3 to 6 months.